Congratulations! Now that you have figured out what emotions you want to evoke, you are done with the hard part. Now, obviously, video number 4, we're going to talk about creating a name. This is where a lot of people get stumped and don't really know what name they want to create. And a lot of companies end up spending months or even half a year trying to create a name. So what I want to do in this particular video is to give you some tips and advice on what direction that you can go, different strategies that you can use to create names that will appeal specifically to your audience. So what you want to do is you want to remember that your name expresses your company's environment as well. So you want to make sure that, if your company environment is really funny and lighthearted, you might want to stick with a name that kind of expresses that, because if you have a name that's really serious, but yet your company environment is really funny and lighthearted, then it might come across as, you might attract the wrong crowd. Or versus on the flip side, if your name is funny and lighthearted, but your audience is mainly serious, then you'll attract a different crowd as well. So the name can have a big effect on the type of people that you attract. So with that said, let's take a look at different ways of creating names. One way is to look at the keywords that you just brainstormed in the previous videos earlier, and look at the keywords, look at the emotions that you brainstormed as well. And you ask yourself, what is the common theme among the keywords that you have brainstormed? Perhaps even try to use the keywords that we brainstormed earlier, use an emotion or emotions, find variations of synonyms of the keywords. So if you find keywords and you want to use a keyword and you find that another company has used that, which often is the case, and you find that the domain name is not available, which is often the case, you might want to go to a thesaurus, which is basically a dictionary, which gives you synonyms or similar words of that word, and try those synonyms. And then another thing you can do is make it rhyme. Now, if you look around, you will notice that a lot of companies tend to use animals or mascots. So like Firefox, for example. And there are many, many others where they like to use animals. You can use mascots if you want to, but for the most part, if you use animals, animals tend to be like non-threatening. So that's a good thing. So what you could do is you could add a verb, maybe a verb that fits the emotion or the keyword that you brainstormed earlier, and then add an animal, and then see if that is available. And then adjective plus animal or mascot, or emotion plus animal slash mascot. So these are different variations that you can take. You can also use words that are meaningful to customers. And by meaningful, we're taking a look at the emotions as well. Imagery. Imagery shows customers what it looks like before they even step into your store. So looking at your logo, looking at your branded name, your company name, can affect that imagery. And then emotional, what moves people. Use that from the prior homework experience in the previous videos, as far as creating emotional keywords and what you want them to feel like before they actually use your product or service. And then, of course, creative words. You can write the sound of a word. You'll notice that a lot of companies tend to write the sound of a word. So even, for example, the word easy, sometimes you'll see E and Z. They won't actually spell the E-A-S-Y, rather they'll spell it out as E and Z. So stuff like that, you can write the sound of the word. Another thing you can do is you can mix two words together. And what I mean by that is, for example, the word creative words. Now, what I mean by that is I don't mean that you push them together as in it's creative words, but you actually subtract, like, for example, sometimes you'll see that they'll say create to words, and they'll cut off like this part here in at the end of the first word, and then they'll cut off the beginning of the second word, and then they'll mesh them together. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. That's the reason why you need to get creative with it. Then of course you can also use puns, and you can also use metaphors, as long as you keep in mind and that the audience and demographic, does it appeal to that audience and demographic. So that's why, obviously creating a personal brand is a lot easier because you're just using your name. But creating a actual company brand is going to take a little longer. I mean, sometimes it can take weeks on a minimum. I've seen even, 3, even 6 months, and I've even seen a year. It's because there's a lot of power within the words. So you want to make sure that you choose wisely, because changing it, rebranding your company name is going to be a lot of work to do.